Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Lowen, and I'm the owner of Decimal Accounting Inc. We are a small accounting firm in Canada based in British Columbia. And I do a video normally every Tuesday for Tax Tips Tuesday, which is a broadcast that I do on my Decimal Accounting Facebook page. And this week, I'm going to do a special topic, which is about how to administer the emergency wage subsidy of 75%. So today is Tuesday, April 7th. I will say the disclaimer that the information that I'm giving you is accurate as of today, but things are changing very quickly, and the 75% wage subsidy is not yet legislation. And so things may change, qualifications may change, or rules about how it's administered may change. But in the meantime, and hopefully as long as it doesn't change too much, I thought it would be very beneficial to do a video about how exactly this works, because there are certainly a number of confusing factors about it. So I'm going to try my absolute best to break it down for you. So I'm going to jump to a screen share. Okay. And first, I just want to point out a couple of things on the government site for the information that we have about this so far, because as with everything else, it seems that a lot of misinformation is circulating on the internet right now because everybody has questions and it's very confusing. So the best bet, if you have questions, is always return to the government sites. Like Canada.ca is the Government of Canada site. So the information on here is going to be the most up to date. If you're reading something in a news article, it's not necessarily correct because the person who wrote that news article might have misunderstood it, or it may be now out of date. So whatever they've posted on the Canada website is going to be the most up-to-date information. So this is regarding, it's called emergency wage subsidy, but in layman terms, we could just be referring to it as the 75% subsidy, not to be confused with the 10% wage subsidy, because there are actually two different wage subsidies. So this is the first point that is a bit confusing for people, I think, because we weren't sure if the 75% wage subsidy was going to replace the 10% one and kind of override those rules with a whole set of new rules. But in fact, they are two different programs, and you can claim both as long as you are eligible for both. And that is actually the most important point that I want to get across in this video today is I've even heard some other accountants and bookkeepers saying, oh no, you're not allowed to claim both. And that's just not true, because it says right here that you can. And I'm going to show you how with an example of actual payroll. So where it says that is on this page, right down here, interaction with the 10% wage subsidy. So on the 18th of March, we had the 10% wage subsidy announced, and any benefit from the 10% wage subsidy in a specific period would generally reduce the amount available to be claimed under the emergency wage subsidy, meaning the 75% one, in that same period. So it does not say that you can't claim both. It says you can claim both, but you just have to reduce the amount that you're going to claim on the 75% subsidy by what you've already received. So these are not getting added together and equaling 85%. Okay, so don't misunderstand that there. They're going to kind of overlap each other, and I'm going to show you how with an example. Okay, so then next, I also just wanted to quickly point out that it has these periods, and that to be eligible for it, for the 75%, your revenue has to have gone down by at least 30% when compared to the same month in the previous year. So right here is a chart that kind of breaks it down more understandably for you. So The claiming period right now is the current 4 weeks that we're about to end on this Saturday, April 11th. And to find out if you're eligible for wages paid during this period, you would compare your revenue, which is your sales, gross sales, like before any expenses, so that's revenue, in March 2020 over March 2019. So if I now had a lot less revenue, at least 30% less revenue in March 2020 as compared to last year, then I'd be eligible for claiming the 75% subsidy. And I know a lot of businesses are in that situation right now, and it's quite difficult. And then even if you don't qualify for the first period, so let's say during March 2020, you were still operating for a while, and then you had to maybe shut down your business more towards the end of the month. So maybe March 2020 compared to March 2019 is not going to be eligible, but then you can reassess the next month. So this is another important point. Just because you don't qualify in that first month doesn't mean you're not going to be able to get it at all. You may now look at your April 2020, and of course it's very important that you have accurate bookkeeping records during this time so you can figure out what your revenue is. And then looking at April 2020 compared to April 2019, you may qualify in this period and be able to get it during that time, wages paid during this time period here. Okay. And I also just wanted to point out as well, a lot of my clients have been asking me, well, what can we do if we're a brand new business? And so the answer to that is hopefully there will be something. We don't quite know yet. So there's this sentence right here. For eligible employers established after February 2019, eligibility would be determined by comparing monthly revenues to a reasonable benchmark. So hopefully we will find out soon what exactly that means of a reasonable benchmark. So because this isn't actually passed into law yet, it's not legislation, that's why we don't have these details. And the government is working, I'm sure, as fast as they can to get those finer details figured out. So there should be something that we can compare. So if you only opened your business in the fall, then you don't have March 2019 to compare to. So you're going to have some other way to determine it. Okay, those were the important things I wanted to point out here. There is more, so I'll just put this link in the comments of the video as well so that you can come and read it yourself. But I wanted to show you the part about how it's calculated, what the amount is. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to break it down as best I can. So the amount of the subsidy is the subsidy amount for a given employee on eligible remuneration, that just means wages, between March 15th and June 6th, that's the time period that it's going to be allowed, would be the greater of 75% of the amount of remuneration paid, so 75% of the actual wages, up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week. Okay, so that means you can't go paying yourself 20 grand in a month and claiming all of it at 75%. So that's to limit people claiming huge amounts here. And then the greater of this item or this one. And so this one has this little phrase in here that says whichever is less. So I'll read it through and then I'll explain. The amount of remuneration paid up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week, or 75% of the employee's pre-crisis weekly remuneration, whichever is less. So if you came to this website and tried to read this section and your head was spinning and you felt like this is not real English, what are they talking about? Congratulations, you are a normal person. And it's totally understandable, because this is how, if this scares you, maybe don't go into a career in accounting, because this is how all accounting textbooks and the tax legislation, like this is how it's worded. It's always the greater of this or this, but one of these has to be the lesser of that. And it just kind of is really difficult to wrap your mind around. And so I wrote an example. Now I've just done it because I had to test this myself several times before I figured out exactly what are they talking about here. And so I figured it out. And then I've just written it on a paper. So I'm going to go back to just my camera. Okay. It's gotten dark in here. So I'm going to show you just like this. Is that upside down? Yeah. I won't show it to you upside down. I won't make your day harder than it already is. Okay, here's my first example. All right, so I'm going to show it to you like this, and it's backwards on my screen, but I know it's going to be the right way around for you. If I had some fancy camera set up with an iPad and I could scribble it on the screen, boy, would that ever be cool, but maybe that'll be for decimal accounting video broadcasts in the future. As of today, we're just working with what we've got. So I also printed out the wording so that I can show you again how exactly this works. So basically what happens is if you are now going to pay yourself the same amount that you always got, you'll get 75%. If it's still less than this $847. If you're going to try and pay yourself more, or other people, I'm just assuming yourself, as if you were the owner of the company paying yourself wages. If you're going to try and pay yourself more, then you're going to get limited by that $847 per week. But if you have to pay yourself less than what you previously had been, because perhaps you can't afford to continue paying the same salary, and same thing for your staff, if you can't afford to keep paying the same salary, then you will actually get 100% of what that amount is. But I've given an example here. So let us pretend in this example, okay, so let's pretend that I used to get, so I'm the owner of the company, it's an incorporated company, I'm paying myself wages of a normal salary every month. So I'm paying myself $2,000 per pay, and a pay period is 2 weeks. So I'm paying myself $1,000 per week as my annual salary that I've always been getting. Let's say now I can't afford to pay myself that full salary because my income has gone way down. So I'm going to actually cut my own salary in half and start paying myself only $500 per week. So in this example, okay, so the wording is the greater of, okay, so this is how you would set it up. I got some shade happening here. Maybe if I put my face over here, that's probably better. Okay, so this is how you'd set it up if you were doing an accounting question from a textbook, which I know you're all doing at home just for fun, right? So you would set up the greater of A or B. Okay, so that's what they've given us here. So we need the greater of 75% of the amount of wages paid. So right now, 75% of 500 per week. So I've reduced my salary. It used to be 1,000 per week. Now it's going to be 500. So 75% of that is $375. Up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week. Well, that part's not a problem because this isn't over $847 per week. Okay, so that first line is fine. And then the second part is the amount of the remuneration paid, so amount of wages actually paid, up to a maximum of $847 per week. So what I'm actually paying myself is $500. And in this part, I need to figure out which one is less, and then that'll be my answer. And then it'll be like, which one of these two things is greater? So my actual pay is $500. So I've got that here. It's still less than the $847 per week. So that's not a problem. I don't need to change this amount. Or 75% of my pre-crisis weekly remuneration. So that's 75% of $1,000 because I used to pay myself $1,000 a week. And then I had to reduce it to 500. So now 75% of that is $750. And on this B section, I want to know which of these two things is less. Number one or number two with my Roman numerals. So the lesser one here is actually the 500. So what I would do, where's my pen? Oh, here it is. Okay, so what I would do there is say, okay, so this one's disqualified because it's not the lesser amount. So that's the one I'm choosing. And then between A and B, which one of those is greater? Well, it's actually the 500. So in that case, In that case, where I've reduced my salary from $1,000 a week to $500 a week, instead of my wage subsidy being 75% of the 500, my wage subsidy is actually the full 500. So that's where it's going to make an impact, is when you've had to reduce your salary or the salary of your employees. So you might have had a whole bunch of full-time employees, and now you could cut them down to part-time hours as long as you still have some work for them. And depending on how this calculation works out, you might actually be getting subsidy for their entire wages. Okay? And then my second example is if your salary is increased. So in this same example where I have been paying myself $1,000 a week, now this is not very likely, but let's say I was going to increase it now to $2,500 because I was feeling greedy and I wanted to try to take advantage of wage subsidy. Well, you can't do that because it's going to get limited. And even if there wasn't the limit, I wouldn't advise doing that anyways, because we have heard in every news broadcast that the government has been doing that they will be prosecuting people who try to take advantage of the system. This is really meant for people who are financially suffering and need it for their business. So to be safe, I would not at all increase your salary at this point. If you used to pay yourself no salary, I would not start paying yourself a salary now just to get wage subsidy, because there could be some penalties in that situation. But even still, this is how the calculation would work out. So let's say now I've increased it to $2,500 per week. So 75% of that is $1,875, but it says in that first part, it can't be more than $847. So I've just said it cannot be more than $847. So that's what I'm going to go with for that first line of 75% of the amount of remuneration paid up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week. Okay, so that's our first section qualifying statement there. And then the second is the amount of the remuneration actually paid up to a maximum of $847 per week. Okay, so the actual amount paid was $2,500, but it can't be more than $847. Or if one of these is the lower amount, then we're going to choose the lower amount. And the second part is, or 75% of your pre-crisis weekly remuneration. So 75% of what I used to get, $1,000 a week, is only $750. So the lesser of these two is $750, but overall, it was still saying pick the greater of A or B. So the greater is still that $847. So no matter how high you're going to increase this, you're not going to get more than $847. But for those other reasons, I would not increase your salary at this time. So if you've always been getting $1,000 a week, then you should just leave it at $1,000 a week, and then you'll get $750 as your subsidy amount. So I want to show an example. I know that this video is getting very long, so hopefully you're still with me so far. And to make it more fun, let's see if my camera is going to come along for the ride. Oh, I have to go, sorry, I have to go to screen share. Okay. Okay, to make it more fun, I put it in cute Easter egg colors, because color coding just has a way of helping your brain to kind of follow the information a lot easier with your eyes. So up here, what I'm trying to do here is show the interaction between the 10% wage subsidy and the 75% wage subsidy. So they have different ways to qualify. So it is entirely possible that your business will qualify for the 10% wage subsidy, but then you may not meet the qualifications for the 75% wage subsidy. So in that case, you can still claim the 10% wage subsidy, or you might meet all the qualifying factors, in which case you can take both, but you have to be careful how you calculate it because they will interact with each other. So I'll just first quickly touch on the 10% subsidy. I did an entire other video that's about 10% wage subsidy and how to calculate it. So I'm not going to recap that whole video here. I'll put the link in the comments and you can go find that. But just as a quick recap, it can be that your company is either a sole proprietorship or an incorporated company, so that's Inc. or Ltd, that is a CCPC, means Canadian Controlled Private Corporation. This is a company in Canada, so you are a Canadian citizen and you are the shareholder of, no, I'm sorry, not Canadian citizen, Canadian resident. That actually, I should clarify that. You don't have to be a Canadian citizen, but you are a Canadian resident and you are the one who controls the company, meaning you have majority shares. Then your company is likely a CCPC, Canadian Controlled Private Corporation. Private means it's not being publicly traded, so you're not running a public company that has shares on the Toronto Stock Exchange, which you won't if it's privately owned. But if you are not sure, then check with your tax accountant if you meet this first qualification. And then you have to have an existing payroll account number. So I've put RP payroll account number because it'll be like your business number, which is 9 digits, and then RP 0001. You have to have an existing payroll number on March 18th of 2020. So you cannot now open a payroll account. If you've never ever paid payroll before, you can't open it now and then be like, I'm going to take advantage of this wage subsidy and start paying wages to myself. You have to have had the payroll account number open previously. So yes or no to that question. And then you've paid any amount of salary or wages to an employee in Canada during this time period. There's not a minimum or maximum with this. So in this example, I am still this person who is earning $2,000 per pay period. And the first subsidy, which is 10%, is going to be 10% of my wages, but it can't be more than $1,375 per employee. So I've stretched this out over several periods here. And then on this last one, now I've hit that maximum. So here I had $1,200 cumulative up to that point, but I can't claim more than $1,375 for myself. So at this point I've maxed it out and I can only get $175 on that last one. And then the next period would just be 0. I've maxed out that subsidy. And the reason that I've set it up like this is I'm trying to compare weekly wages, because the tricky part about figuring this out is going to be that the periods don't really line up properly. And depending on when your pay periods are set up, you might have a bit of a difficult time calculating this. So I've followed a bi-weekly pay schedule. So the period is starting after March 18th for the 10% subsidy and going to the end of the month. And then what's happening is you're allowed to take this subsidy as a discount on your payroll source deductions remittance. So the EI and CPP is unaffected, but it is like a reduction of the income tax portion of your payroll source deductions. So I would take $200 off when I send my remittance. So the nice thing about that is it's immediately affecting your cash flow, because you may not, in a positive way, because you may not have enough cash to pay the full amount of the source deductions. One of the disadvantages to the 75% wage subsidy is you have to apply for it and then you have to wait to get the money. And so in the meantime, you've already paid out the wages. So I would absolutely recommend, if you are eligible for both programs, take the 10% wage subsidy first, and then you're going to take the difference on the remaining 75% subsidy. Okay, so now what this shows is I've got 10%, I've got my pay periods, and because I want to match them up, that's what my colors are here. So in the period of the green color, on my 75% wage subsidy, for this one, I just want a weekly amount. And this period for the subsidy the first period is from March 15th to April 11th. And so that's why I've split it up into like week 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then the colors are going to line up with my actual pay periods. So where I'm getting this from is, this is my month end dates that I would use for my source deductions. And then these are my actual pay days. But when I have a pay day, that's not when my wages are actually earned. So I'll just show my calendar here. So if my pay day is March 27th, it's because I've earned those wages in the previous 2 weeks. So from March 8th to the 14th, and then from March 15th to the 21st, that's a 2-week bi-weekly period of wages earned, and then I would pay it out the following Friday. So if you're calculating this, watch out for your pay periods. And you could set it up similar to how I've done that here. So that's why I only have one green period here, because although this was $2,000 paid on March 27th, it includes one previous week, which is outside of this term here. So the first week for the 75% wage subsidy is from the 15th to the 21st. And we're trying to figure out what was my weekly pay during that time. And so I only had 1,000 in that 1 week. And if you have hourly employees, like this is a salary amount, so I've just split it up evenly. But if you have hourly employees, you could actually figure out from their hours what were their wages every single week, and then the total for that period. And in this example, I've only used one employee just to make it simpler. If you have several employees, you would need to expand this with extra columns or do something similar. You can be working this out on paper. That would be fine. But just to be careful about the rules with the calculations. So, okay, so let's show what happens here with the 75% wage subsidy. So first of all, in order to qualify for it, you have to have had the drop of 30% in your monthly revenue. So if your monthly revenue has not changed or even has increased, then fantastic, good for you. You can still claim the 10% wage subsidy, because there's nothing that says that you need to have reduced revenue or you need to have shut down your business or anything like that in order to claim this wage subsidy. So if you're still operating at full capacity, you can take advantage of this program, and there's no legal issue with that. You're allowed to take it. But you won't be able to also get the 75% unless your monthly revenue has dropped significantly. So that's yes or no there. And then any amount of salary, wages, bonuses to an employee in Canada, not dividends. Okay, this, at least right now, they're saying dividends are not included in this. So it has to just be salary, wages, bonuses. And that would include vacation pay as well. And okay, so then what happens here is $1,000 per week is what I'm earning. So this is half of that 2,000 up there. These, oops, shoot, undo that. There we go. These two blue ones are this period up here. And then that yellow one and the next yellow one are this one here. So I'm taking $2,000 per pay, which is every 2 weeks. So that's $1,000 per week. So then what's happened at the end of my first period, so I've gotten $750 as my 75% wage subsidy. And then at the end of that first period, for the March 15th to April 11th, I have $3,000 available for the 75% wage subsidy. But I have to subtract what I've already taken in the 10% wage subsidy. So that's what I've done here, less 10% wage subsidy already claimed. So I've claimed $500 for these weeks. So it is 1/2 of the green amount there. Oh, you can see my, oh no, sorry, the entire green amount, because that was the subsidy that I actually received, even though the pay was only half. That's how I would logically calculate this. And then all of the blue, which was $200, and then half of the yellow, So that would only be 100. So that's why this is equaling 500, because I'm going to pick up the other half of that yellow over here. And let's see. Okay, so then again, I'm continuing to take $2,000 per pay, and the subsidy is different here because now I've got one half of the yellow, all the purple, one half of the pink. So that equals 400. And then the last one, because at this point I've maxed out what I can receive for the 10%. So then in the last one here, I've got this amount right here is one half of the pink above, all of the orange, and then one half of the aqua color, but that amount has been limited to 175. And so that's the subsidy that I've already received, is $387.50. So even though every single time here I'm eligible for $3,000, I subtract what I've already claimed for that period of the whatever it is. This one is May 10th to June 6th. So I'm trying to make it fair here by splitting it up per week. And then the remaining subsidy that I'd be allowed to claim for that 75 is the difference between those two. So I hope that that is clear. It certainly took me several hours to wrap my mind around this. So don't feel bad if you are still confused. Perhaps go back and watch it again and reread the text from the government website yourself. And then I just wanted to show what happens if I were to reduce it. So let's say I go down to $1,000 per pay. And it's like in that example where I used to give myself $2,000 per paycheck. Okay, so this one I have to fix this formula because I just kind of was overriding it. And it's like past 1:30 and I haven't had any lunch. It's like 2:15 and I haven't had lunch and I need to get some tax returns done today. So I was just like, good enough. We will figure it out later. It doesn't have to be perfect today. Okay, so in this case, I haven't reached that max of $1,375 yet. So I'm still allowed to take $100 there. And so far I've only taken $700 total. So in this case, my business is suffering a little bit. I used to pay myself $2,000 per pay. Now I can only afford to pay myself $1,000 per pay. So I can still get that 10% wage subsidy on every one. And then now, because while my business is suffering, I've got the lower revenue, I can also get 75% wage subsidy, but we would compare my current pay to the pre-crisis weekly pay. So this is in that example that I showed you where if you're having to cut back the salaries, you're actually going to be able to get all of it, depending on how the numbers work out, but you could potentially get all of it as wage subsidy. So if I have to cut back to $500 per week, so remember that these ones are weekly amounts, and that's based on a salary in a 2-week pay period of $1,000. So now my $500 wages, because it's less than 75% of $1,000, that's the amount that I'm allowed to claim as subsidy. So I can get $500. I'm paying myself $500. I can get the entire $500 as wage subsidy. And then here, for my end of the period, my total available is $2,000 on my $2,000 of wages in the 4 weeks. And so then I've already claimed $250, which would be, I got the green, I got the blue, I got one half of the yellow because the other half of the yellow is going to be over here in the next period. So that's $250 that I've already received. So the remaining $1,750 is what I'm going to put on my 75% claim for the wage subsidy. Okay. I think that covers it. And I just wanted to quickly say that if I just close this one, go back to the way that you apply for the 75% wage subsidy is not by taking a discount on your source deductions, because you won't have enough payable source deductions to be able to actually claim it. So you are applying through CRA My Business account. And so I just wanted to show you where that is. And if you do not already have CRA My Business account, you can register. So here's where you would register for it. This is attached to your business number, so your 9-digit business number. It's not your social insurance number. When you do My Account, CRA My Account for individuals, that's your social insurance number because it's tied to your personal tax returns and all your personal tax info. This is about your business tax info and stuff like your GST number and your payroll account number. So you may not be using this if you're still getting online, if you're still getting, paper statements in the mail, but it is something that you would need to sign up for now. They might also do a phone option because they did create an automated telephone line for the benefit for individuals, the Canada Emergency, CERB, Canada Emergency Response Benefit for individuals and sole proprietors. That one is, that one has a telephone option that's an automated call-in. So we don't have the exact details of this application process yet. So as we find out more information, I will be posting it on my Decimal Accounting Facebook page. But for now, just know that you could start setting this up right now. And so you'd log in using your CRA user ID and password, or if you use one of these banks, then you can actually use your banking login to access CRA My Business account, because they're kind of using that as a security clearance that you are who you say you are. So that would be an option for you. But if that doesn't work, then, and you've never used this before, then register for a new account. And then you'll be submitting an application with the amounts that you've already calculated. So you will have needed to do something like this, where you've already figured out what your wages were for that time. I'm assuming it's not going to calculate it for you. I think you're going to need to figure out what the subsidy amount is that you're allowed, right? So in this example, I'm allowed to take $17.50. And then you would submit that request through CRA My Business account. And that is how you would apply for the 75% subsidy. Okay, so I hope that you perhaps survived this video still with a smile on your face and perhaps feeling a little bit less panicked than you did previously when you were trying to figure this out. I hope that this has provided some clarity for you. And I'll just say quickly as well that if you're looking for more information about the government supports, I'm needing to do this research anyways because I need to know from my own clients. And so everything that I'm finding out, I'm just sharing it on my Facebook page for my business. And I also have a YouTube channel. So any of these videos are getting posted to my YouTube channel. So my primary purpose is for the education of people who are Decimal clients, but I figured since I'm doing this anyways, I might as well just post it public and allow people to share it. So if you know someone else that is a business owner that could benefit from this information, then please do share it with them. And if you want to get in touch with me, my email is info@decimal.ca. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.